Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. We are joined once again live by Tracy Whitmore from Indigo Journey. Excited to have her here to talk today about repair. And of course, it's possible. Please introduce yourself to our listeners to start.
Hi, Jill. Thanks so much. Yes, I'm Tracy, as you said, from Indigo Journey, and I'm a social worker, a coach, and the area that I like to focus on is working with LGBTQIA plus adults and parents of LGBTQ plus people. And that's what we're going to talk about today, because I feel like it's really important to make sure that parents are supported and they're able to fully understand their child and their child's experience.
Perfect. And just for reference, you're based out of where, and you're working with people in the community all over,
Over the
right? With
world.
Zoom. Okay, perfect.
Yeah. So I'm based in Vancouver, Canada at the moment, but I all the work I do is online, so I can work with people all over the world.
Perfect. Well, let's talk about this repairing and to let everyone know that it is possible. You say when a child comes out, some parents really respond well, which is great. Some, though, poorly, sometimes maybe in between. So let's talk a little about this, all different aspects and your background behind it, if you don't mind. And in the end, you mentioned repair is possible. So let's get right to it.
Yeah. And I think that's a really important message for parents to hear, is that repair is definitely possible in almost all circumstances. So, I mean, I guess I came to this work with parents specifically because I was hearing so much, from kids, from LGBTQIA plus kids who were really struggling and wanted their parents to behave differently in some way. So, like you mentioned, some parents respond well, and maybe there's some gaps of what the kids might need, or even adults, and some respond really poorly as well. A lot of parents I work with experience a lot of guilt and or regret around their initial responses, and that can impact their relationship as well. So I thought today, when there's a lot of damage done to the relationship, so when parents have responded really poorly, then that's going to take a lot more work. And whilst I do have a whole chapter on repair is possible in the book, and I feel like if a parent is in that situation and they're wanting to repair the relationship, the book will definitely help them get started. However, if there is a lot of damage done in the relationship, it's going to take more than reading a book. It's a great place to start, but it would also be highly encouraged, I think, to seek out some extra support. So someone who can walk that journey with them and guide them and support them to work through what their experience has been, and also how to repair that relationship. So today we won't talk about that in too much detail, because I do think it takes a lot more support and guidance. So I wanted to more focus on the parents who've responded somewhere in the middle. So the ones that have responded really well, and kids have no complaints, then we don't need to really talk about that, though congratulations to those parents and well done. The people that are in the middle, or somewhere in the middle there, I feel like can really benefit from reading my book, and perhaps from some extra guidance and support as well. And I think some of those mistakes happen at the time that their child comes out, like right at that initial point. And it can be that they've said something not great, but it can also be a simple thing, or simple to them, it probably feels like a rolling of the eyes, or a long pause, or a small comment that they've made that they maybe don't realize has been a little bit hurtful or harmful to their child. And those things are really easy to repair, as long as parents are able to work through the process of understanding why and how that's impacted their child. Because often parents think that their child's just being oversensitive, and maybe just being impatient with them, or trying to pick a fight, or trying to be difficult. And almost always that's not the intention of their child. And so, working through communication and enabling parents to better understand what their own feelings are, where they've come from, working through those really helps in that journey of repairing and then of course alleviating some of that guilt or regret, because when you're carrying that, you're not going to interact with other people as well as you might like, because that kind of comes through in the way we interact when we're feeling guilty.
Well, let me ask you this as an author, which by the way, you're so modest. We do the introduction. She's like, I'm this, I'm that coach. But hello, the name of the book is what?
It's about you too, reducing
Yes.
overwhelm for parents of LGBTQ plus kids.
Perfect. And we've been
Thanks, Jill.
diving through the chapters of this the past few weeks.
Yeah.
So thank you. So is
I'm still
repair.
getting used to that title of author.
I
It's
know,
been,
but this
it's
is
only
one of
this
her
year.
chapters. I just want to point this out. It's
Yeah.
chapter 8 to be specific. So
Yeah.
she's such a modest woman, because people would have been like, what book is she talking about? Her own book. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. So you want to talk a little about us? Parents also make mistakes. We all do. And that could, the way we react, the way we, how do you get that back? And when all these emotions are heightened, the communications like out of there, it's just, what do you recommend to do?
Yeah, well, first of all, read the book.
Yes,
Read my
yes.
book. It's about you too. I worked through in the chapters in the book. So this one that we're talking about today is chapter 8. So it's the second last chapter. The whole rest of the book before that is supporting parents to work through their experience, their emotions, their values, their beliefs, and all of the different things, and get a better understanding of their child. So doing that so that when they do get to the point of wanting to apologize to their child or repair the relationship or repair the damage, so to speak, that's happened over that period of time, they need to be coming to their child really authentically so that they've got a deep understanding of their child's experience and their own, because otherwise their child's going to realize that they're just apologizing because they feel like they have to, or they don't fully understand. When they've done the work, their child's really going to understand that they care enough about this to put in that work, to put in the time, put in the energy. And if they do, take that therapeutic or coaching avenue, then they're also prepared to put in finances to make sure that they can support their child in the best possible way. So we can talk through some steps for sure on how to do that. And communication, like you said, is the absolute key to this, after they've gone through that healing process and that figuring out of everything process.
Absolutely. And do we also have a guest today?
Well, I think we were going to open up for questions if people wanted to call in and ask
Yes.
questions.
Okay. Because I know you mentioned having someone with Anne joining
us. So yes. So Anne is in the book. Anne is in the book. Sorry.
Okay. I didn't know
really
that. I'm like,
clear.
okay, let's introduce Anne. I'm like, okay. But yeah, the lines are open, guys. 631.
Yeah,
I should mention
come
the
over
number.
here.
Oh, good. 631-307-4010. 631-307-4010. If you do have questions. Okay, perfect. Thanks for sharing that.
Sorry, I did say an excerpt from my book, but I wasn't really clear on that.
No, that's okay. I was like, did we supposed to have a guest? I know we had an issue with Zoom. I'm like, I don't see anyone else in the room.
Yeah. So should we introduce Anne?
Yes.
Okay. So Anne is in the introduction of my book, and what I thought might be helpful to really get an understanding of why I have the approach that I have in supporting parents and where a lot of parents come from. She's in the introduction. So I just thought there's just a couple of paragraphs there, if that's okay, if I read those out.
Of course, go for it.
Okay. So Anne had called me the previous day quite distressed. She shared that her 17-year-old child had just told her the previous week that they're transgender and pansexual. She wanted to assure me she loves her child and she knew it wasn't about her, but she was struggling. I don't even know what pansexual is, she whispered. I don't know what to think what to do or what to say to my child, Anne shared, choking back the tears. She was shocked, confused, and overwhelmed. And when she reached out to her therapist, she was told that it wasn't about her and that she must focus on supporting her child. She said that it should be my priority. My child should be my priority,
Mm-hmm.
Anne shared, followed by a deep sigh. I know she's right. I just don't know how to do that. I'm not a terrible parent. I just don't know how. So the problem was she didn't know how to support her child. She had so much inner turmoil that she wasn't even sure if she could, even though she desperately wanted to. This is a dilemma that many parents come to me with. I want you to know that this is perfectly normal to feel the way that Anne is feeling, and it
Mm-hmm.
won't feel like this forever. So I really wanted listeners to know that exactly that it doesn't last forever, however they're feeling,
Yeah.
and it is perfectly normal to feel like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, Anne's experience is so common, and a lot of parents that I work with, when they're in that state, so they're feeling confused, they're feeling upset, they're worried, you know, all of the different emotions bubbling up
Yeah.
inside of them, and they reach out for support or they express these concerns to somebody, and the response is, it's not about you, it's about your child, put your feelings aside. Obviously people can't put their feelings aside, but it is about their child and they do need to support them. So how do we go about this?
Yeah.
So, well, you know, one of the problems with this response is parents then go into a defensive state. They're then,
Yeah.
you know, feeling defensive, feeling guilty, feeling like they're doing something wrong, feel like the person they've told thinks they're a bad person or a bad parent, and all of those things. So then their communication, they either shut down or
Mm-hmm.
their communication becomes really defensive and, you know, not very helpful for anybody.
Oh,
So, like I mentioned, you know, after you've worked through all of this and got a little bit, I guess, better handle on how you're feeling and what's going on for you, focusing on communication and your
mm-hmm.
communication style is really important. And one of the things I go through in the book and I work intensively with parents with is around active, non-defensive listening and communication.
Got it. Okay. Which,
So active listening, which a lot of people hear about, non-defensive listening, I guess it is self-explanatory in the term, but people often don't understand all the nuances of it. So I thought maybe it would be helpful to go through that today a little bit.
absolutely. And by the way, don't forget the phone lines are open, guys. If you have any questions, 631-307-4010. The lines are open, 631-307-4010. If you do have any questions as we continue.
Yeah, great. And I'd love to be able to answer people's questions if they have them too. So strategies to stay out of or recover from defensive responses. So I'm looking at, you know, both you've already done it or to prevent it. And defensive listening is, you know, when we're making excuses, when we be snappy, defensive responses, when we're like really not listening and not really engaging in a helpful way. So
Mm-hmm.
the first thing that I wanted to share with people is
Oh,
be more.
okay. Hold on. We have a call coming in. 1 second.
Oh,
Tracy, hello. Hi. Welcome to the show. You're live on the line with Tracy. Who's this?
Yeah, hi, this is Rob. How are you?
Good. Hi, Rob. Just to let you know, you are live on the line. I assume you're listening to the show. Just to let you know, you are live. Uh, Anything you can say, use will be held against you. No, I'm joking. What would you like to ask our
hi,
guest
Rob.
today or talk about with?
Yeah, hi. So, my son had recently just came out, and I was just wondering if you had some advice, like the best way to you know to speak with him about it is, and I guess when it comes to like addressing my, I guess I'm obviously very proud of him, but like how to like talk to about it with like my friends and stuff like that, things like that.
Oh, well, were you, if you
Oh,
don't mind me asking, have you been supportive of your son? Was it difficult for you, or was it something that just was okay for
Well,
you?
at first it was, but I'm a pretty accepting person. it was definitely difficult at first. I'm not going to lie, but I love my son.
Yeah. Also, some advice, on talking, yeah, because other friends and family may not be so understanding, and not
Yeah,
everyone's as open, Tracy. So, any advice to him? That's a good one.
yeah, I live in a
Yeah,
very
great.
conservative community, so yeah.
Sorry, I didn't hear that last bit.
I'm sorry. So I live in a pretty conservative community, so yeah, I just wanted to know like what the best way of like speaking to other people about this and things like that.
Yeah, yeah. So thanks so much for calling in, Rob, and thanks for the question. It's a really great question, and I love that you're being supportive and able to also acknowledge that it was a little bit challenging at the start, because I think it is for almost all parents. So as far as communicating with other people, I think we went over the coming out process for parents, I think, in the last call. If you're able to go back and listen to that one, it'll be able to help you out in a lot more detail. The first thing that I want to share with you, though, is it's important that you have explicit consent from your son before you share this information with anybody. So that needs to be for each person that you decide to talk to about this, is to make sure you've got his consent. Have you had a conversation with him about it?
I'm sorry?
Have you had a conversation with your son about sharing with different people?
Not yet. Not yet.
No.
Okay. I know that people are, asking, why doesn't he have a girlfriend or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. Yeah. How old is your son, Rob?
He's 19.
Okay. So people will be starting to ask that question, which is, common. I don't know why people need to know, but it is common that people will start asking that question.
I feel they're very nosy.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, you can just answer that question simply by saying he doesn't, or, you don't have, it doesn't mean that you have to come out on his behalf just because people are asking. Lots of 19-year-olds don't have a partner for lots of different reasons. So just to give you that permission to know that you actually don't need to answer those questions. You don't need to give them any details. But if it is a person that you do feel like you want to share with, again, making sure you've got your son's permission, and also like talking. Sorry, go on.
No, I just said okay.
Yeah. So talking through with your son, who's important in his life that he wants to know. And, so those people, maybe he doesn't want them to know, or maybe he does. The thing is, once you've shared the information, we can't take it back. And so making sure that you're having open conversations with him about the who and the why, and what that might look like, particularly because you live in a conservative community, and the more people that know, the less control you both have about who finds out and when they find out. And then when you do get to the point of having those discussions, I think making sure that you're well informed is really important, because then you've got the best chance of being a strong advocate and ally for your son. And I guess not making a big deal about it. Like, it's just an extra bit of information that you're sharing about your son, about your family, that you value that person enough to share that with them. And so, the way you approach it, if you approach it with confidence and clarity, then people are less likely to challenge.
I see. Okay. I think that's great advice.
You're welcome.
Good. Thank you so much. And if you want to reach out to Tracy.
Oh,
I am sorry. There's a little bit of a delay here. What did you say?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you very much for everything.
Oh, thank
You're
you. And
very
if you
welcome.
want to reach out to Tracy, just would you mind sharing your contact information?
That's great.
Yeah, so my website's indigojourney.co with no M, and there's links on there that you can reach out to book a free consult call if you want to just chat a little bit more, or you can send me an email through the contact me page on there. That's probably the easiest way.
All right. Thank you so much. Thanks again, Rob.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Rob.
And guys, the lines are still open. We got 4 minutes left. 631-307-4010. If you have any questions, thank you for the call. Bob, was it?
Rob, I think.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, Tracy. So what else did you want to share?
Yeah, so I just thought I would go through the strategies around defensive listening.
Okay.
Sorry, non-defensive listening in response to that defensive response. So being mindful of the love that you have for your child, and being mindful of respecting your child, respecting yourself and your relationship. So keeping that at the forefront. This is where we're looking at a child that you have always loved dearly. So trying to keep that really at the forefront, staying in touch with that love that you have for the person, and less focus on behavior or, the new information that you've just received. That will make it much more easy for you to respond in a way that you're going to feel comfortable with. Taking a few breaths, practicing an extended exhale, which is a strategy that I do offer in the moments of pause at the end of each chapter in my book. There's a different one for each chapter. Avoiding taking another person's comment personally, and that one can be a lot easier said than done. But understanding that your child they're going through their own experience, and the fact that they've shared this information with you can be really difficult. No matter how open and loving you are, it can be really, really difficult. Can bring up a lot of emotions, a lot of fears, and they will be primed, ready for protecting themselves. So they will likely be defensive. So understanding that their responses are not necessarily personal. So trying to keep that space between that. If you're not sure about something, ask for clarity. And if you're struggling, push the pause button. So just let your child know that you just need to take a moment, and make sure it's as brief as possible, because that will be a little bit agonizing for your child to wait. But it's better that you take a moment, pause, go get some fresh air, go take a few breaths, so that you can come back and be more present with the love and care that you have for your child. So they're just some tips of how to recover from that defensive response, or to try and stay out of a defensive response.
Got it. Well, also, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we can talk about active listening a little bit as well, if we've got time.
Yep, go for it.
Yeah. So I'll just go through the list, and if people want to know more, you can check it out in my book as well. So strategies for active non-defensive listening are to stop talking. So pause and really pay attention and listen. Avoid interrupting. Maintaining a reasonable level of eye contact with your child, and that doesn't mean staring them out, but a reasonable level. If you're busy looking around the room or looking down at your phone or something like that, then they're going to know that you're not fully paying attention. Use engaging body language and facial expressions. So being conscious, if you're feeling uncomfortable, your body language and your facial expressions are going to show that. Yeah. So really trying to be conscious of that and keep your body language open. Showing interest and understanding as much as you can. Show the understanding. Obviously, if this is new, then you're not going to have a deep level of understanding yet. Ask questions when appropriate, and in other parts of the book I talk about what kind of questions are appropriate and what aren't. Summarizing what you've heard can be helpful, so that you can clarify that you've understood what they're saying to you correctly. A big no-no is having your phone, looking at your phone, because if you're checking your phone, even if it's for a split second, it feels like nothing to you, that's going to send a pretty clear message to your child that something else is more important than what they're saying to you right now. And being aware that people do that actually as a defense mechanism sometimes. It's like, I'm feeling really uncomfortable. My phone's my safety. I'm just going to look
distracted.
away. Yeah,
I've done that before.
I think
guilty.
we all have.
Mm-hmm.
So I think being mindful
this is such an important,
that,
yes, and how that
keep your phone out of reach is an easy way of steering clear of that when you're having important conversations. And avoid planning your response. That's something that I think almost all of us do. When people are talking to us, we're sitting there in our mind planning how we're going to respond instead of actually listening. And you'll be surprised at how naturally your response will come if you are not planning it, but you're actually really listening to what's being said. And I guess the last one is avoid the need to be right. And again, that's a big ask because, often, that's what we want to do. And I think particularly parents, because they've been in that position where they often are right. They're teaching their kids, throughout their lives.
Yeah.
And so trying to steer away from that or be conscious if that need comes up that, here, I'm just wanting to be right here. I need to kind of pause and listen. So, I guess the key message around this is language is really powerful. So be mindful how you use it. And that's verbal language, body language, facial expressions, all of it. And so, this is helpful for any kind of conversation, not a conversation with your child that's tough.
Difficult.
Yeah.
And I don't condone drinking a beer before either.
No, because
you want to be
we
totally
think it might
comprehensive.
relax us, but also, it might lead to some difficult conversations.
Yep. I know we all want to kind of mellow ourselves sometimes, but sometimes you got to just breathe. How about a breathing technique, right? That might be better.
Yeah. Well, physiologically, there's evidence out there that actually works better. It's just that we don't always practice it when we need it.
Interesting. All right. Well, we got to learn to do some of that. Meditate before maybe. Any other advice you want to share before we go?
Well, I think just really trusting in yourself, trusting the love you have for your child and committing yourself to doing the work. Because that's where the key is. Do the work and then have the conversation with your child, and also be prepared, especially if there's been some damage, done to the relationship. There's some, distance in the relationship. Be prepared. Your child may not respond how you hope they will immediately. And that's also okay because they need you're doing the work and you know what you're coming to this conversation with and what your hopes are, but they don't. And they might need some time and space to process what you've shared and, to allow some of that. And it might take, and often it will take more than one conversation.
Got it. And also, you do matter. It is about you too. And it's time to work through this together, right? I was looking at your notes. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the whole title of the book is it is about you too, and do the work so that you can be the perfect ally.
And you're happy to welcome new people. Could you share a little bit about the programs? Thank you.
Yeah. So I've got several different programs for parents, and they range from like an entry level. So just so you can, really get a good understanding about what it means to be LGBTQIA+, and, what some of the potential experiences that your child may have, and just touching a little bit about on what you might be feeling, how to, answering some of your questions and that kind of thing. So that's an entry level course. And then I've got one in the middle, which is when your child comes out, and that can be for parents who their child has literally just come out, or it can be down the road a little bit, but you're still struggling, and that will still be beneficial. And then right through to therapeutic coaching and counseling program that I walk through, an 8-week program that I basically hold your hand through all of the different steps. And it's really specific to your needs. So the content is addressing lots of different things that are common. And then I walk through, in one-to-one therapeutic coaching and counseling sessions throughout the program each week, where we address whatever comes up for the individual, whatever they need in that moment.
All right. Thank you so much. We are out of time. A reminder of the website, how we can find you.
Yes. So indigojourney.co, no M. And so that's my website, and social media is tracy.indigojourney. So there's Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn.
All right. Thank you so much, Tracy. Have a fantastic day. To all of our listeners, stay tuned.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.